And now, your Weather Authority forecast first, brought to you by Todd Shore's McClarty Ford.
Some of the heavy rain bands from Delta have already made their way into the southeastern edge of the Arklatex. Temperatures for the most part in the upper 60s to lower 70s right now. And it looks like the main focus for rain this evening will be to the south and east of Shreveport as temperatures remain fairly steady in the upper 60s. That's a quick look at your Todd Shore's McClarty Ford forecast first. NBC 6 News at 5 begins
now. From your community, local news that matters. This is NBC 6 News at 5.
The weather event is impacting our communities and our people as we speak. So please stay safe, stay put, and be vigilant.
Governor John Bel Edwards tells the state to get ready as Hurricane Delta is already affecting Louisiana's Gulf Coast. It is now a Category 2 hurricane. Good evening and thanks for being with us. I'm Dan Jovic.
And I'm Jackie Jovic. Hurricane Delta weakened during the day. It will soon make landfall along the southwest Louisiana coast.
Chief Meteorologist Todd Warren is sharing the latest. Todd.
Well, Dan and Jackie, it looks like we're about an hour away before the center makes its way into the coast of Louisiana. Here's the very latest from the National Hurricane Center showing you that the maximum sustained winds have decreased this afternoon, still rather strong at 105 miles per hour. And we also have seen that turn towards the northeast that we were anticipating as Delta is now moving towards the northeast at 14. No really big change in the outlook as far as the projected path. Still looking at it moving close to Alexandria shortly after midnight and east of Monroe by sunrise tomorrow morning. Of course, this track will bring some impacts here to the Arklatex, especially the southeastern edge of the area. You can see tropical storm warnings for sustained winds of around 40 miles per hour possible down towards Manny and Natchitoches. Those areas also under a flash flood watch. Again, the flash flood watch has expanded somewhat to include Red River, Bienville, and Claiborne parishes as well here during the day today, as that part of the region could see anywhere from 2 to over 6 inches of rain. Here's a look at some of the impacts that we'll be looking at. Wind gusts of 30 to 50 miles per hour. Best chance for the strongest winds will be again closer to the center in Sabine and Natchitoches parishes. That could result in numerous power outages. Not looking at too much as far as power issues in Shreveport, as gusts here probably will stay below 40 miles per hour. 2 to 5 inches of rain, generally speaking, over the southeast half of the area. We could see a few isolated totals that exceed 6 inches, hence the threat for the flash flooding. And of course, with the track of Delta to the east of us, not worried about tornadoes, as the main concerns will be the heavy rain and the gusty wind. And I'll show you the timing of when conditions will worsen and be at their worst in your forecast coming up.
All right, thank you very much, Todd. At today's briefing, the governor added Natchitoches and Sabine parishes to the emergency protective measures list. He announced that more than 9,000 Louisiana residents are in shelters.
Mega shelter in Alexandria has reached capacity with more than 800 people there. The state will open shelters in North Louisiana, including Shreveport, if needed.
Because with COVID-19, we have reduced capacity there of about 833, and then we will be moving individuals as necessary to other shelters further north, starting with the shelter in Bastrop, and when that one's full, we will use the Juella shelter in Shreveport.
Governor Edwards says the evacuees would be able to leave the shelter once the storm clears. Those who cannot return home will be placed in hotels. Many southern Louisiana residents are evacuating it towards Natchitoches.
That's right. NBC 6's City Simone joins us now live there, sharing more details. City, good evening.
Good evening, Dan, Jackie. We spoke with a few families who say they aren't too concerned about the storm, but as you can see, the rain is constantly coming down, and it actually picked up just a bit here not too long ago. We haven't come across any flooded areas yet, but I'm sure we will just a little bit later. The Natchitoches Fire Department says Highway 120 and I-49 is an area that will have severe flooding, so be on the watch out for that. The fire department says the category of the storm Delta downsized, and not many people are evacuating like they did for Laura. For those who plan to stay, you should be cautious of where to plug in your backup generators, preferably outside the home and away from windows.
You know, we had several deaths related to Laura with carbon monoxide, and we want to avoid that if all possible. And be sure that they don't fill their generators while they're hot. Let them cool off a minute before they do that, because we don't want anybody getting hurt from that.
We didn't want to have to drive too far at night, so we just came up here and we figured if it stayed on the track, we would just stay here, and otherwise if it moved closer to us, we'd go over to Texas.
SWEPCO says residents should expect the power to be out for several days. For people using emergency life support equipment, they should make arrangements for power outages. And we noticed some people still out on the roads, and the fire department says that if you have any doubts, stay away from the flooded areas. Live here in Natchitoches, Sydney Simone, NBC6 News. Back to you, Dan and Jack.
All right, thank you very much, Sydney.
Well, meanwhile, FEMA is advising many people in South Louisiana who may have just returned home after evacuating from Hurricane Laura to leave once again.
We are working to make sure that those folks that have gone back home are, again, following the guidance of their local officials. And if they're evacuating, they're evacuating. The folks that are already evacuated are staying safe in those shelters where they are, whether they're shelters in hotel rooms inside Louisiana, or maybe they've gone to neighboring states of Texas or Mississippi as well. We want to make sure that they stay there as well.
Robbins says FEMA anticipates power infrastructure that was recently fixed due to Hurricane Laura will once again be damaged by Delta. Well, turning our attention to the latest on coronavirus news, the Louisiana governor's office announces today a member of John Bel Edwards' team has tested positive for COVID-19. He did so on Thursday.
2 additional staffers are in quarantine for 14 days. Governor Edwards did not have close contact with the individual.
Switching gears now, many Louisiana high school football teams played last night in preparation for Hurricane Delta, but there's still some Friday night action all across Shreveport-Bossier.
NBC6's Emma Kate Few is in Bossier at our game of the week. Emma Kate, a little wet out there today.
It is a little wet out here, guys, but still an exciting night of high school football. I'm here at Parkway High School's Preston Crownover Stadium. The Parkway Panthers hosting the Benton Tigers for the first night of District 1 5A play in the region, so a lot of excitement around that. I talked to both head coaches earlier today because, like you said a minute ago, Jackie and Dan, you know, a lot of teams played last night, but the teams playing tonight, they're really going to have to work through these wet conditions, and I want to know, is that going to affect their game plan?
If we get the heavy rainfall they're predicting, you know, later tonight, then, you know, if that's the case, I think it does make it sort of both teams one-dimensional, you know, I mean, because you just can't practice in those conditions.
Can't simulate it, and we've tried at practice this week, you know, getting the balls wet, trying to throw them and catch them. Both teams are shotgun teams, so it's going to start with the snap. And, you know, it's a very, very important position tonight at the center position. And
you take a big, big risk when you put the ball in the air, and so I think that, you know, both of us might be willing to do a little bit, but I think mostly you'd be looking at who can run the ball best, who can stop the run the best.
Yeah, as you guys can see, you know, a lot of wet conditions going on out here. Instead of having a turf field, Parkway has a grass field. So talking to both coaches earlier today, it sounds like that air raid style that Benton's Coach Moore is known so well for in the area, they're really going to have to run the ball tonight, especially if it starts to rain a little bit harder. So we'll keep an eye out on that. I'm going to have highlights, and we're going to hear from both those coaches actually later on at 6. So stay tuned for that. Reporting at Parkway High School, I'm Emma Kate Few. Guys.
Yeah, sloppy conditions. Sometimes that leads to some pretty fun football games. We'll see. All right, Emma Kate, thanks so much. NBC6, your local election headquarters. We're just 2 hours away from our Senate debate between Republican incumbent John Cornyn and Democratic challenger MJ Hager.
NBC6's Maggie Glenn joins us live from the capital city with a preview. Maggie?
The debate is being held in person here at the Bob Bullock Texas State History Museum in Austin, but we have plenty of precautions in place to make sure both the candidates and the staff at the museum feel safe.
First, anyone you see on stage tonight had to be tested for COVID-19. Both Cornyn and Hagar have tested negative, along with all the moderators. Anyone off camera is screened for COVID symptoms when they enter, which includes a temperature check. We also made sure each candidate will be 10 feet apart standing behind the podium. When it comes to the debate itself, Cornyn and Hagar have very different visions for our state, both trying to win over any undecided voters with just 3 weeks left until the election.
MJ was recruited by Chuck Schumer. And obviously, he's counting on her to come help push a hyper-partisan agenda in the United States Senate. Senator Schumer said everything is on the table, from eliminating the legislative filibuster to packing the Supreme Court to making D.C. and Puerto Rico states with 2 senators each.
John Cornyn's vision for the state is to look at his record of his last 18 years in office, things he's accomplished. I'll be holding him accountable for times when he says he wants to do something when he actually did the opposite in DC.
You'll also notice we don't have any in-person audience tonight, but the candidates will still feel their presence. We have virtual audiences watching from home on the screens next to the stage.
And our coverage doesn't stop after the debate is over. We'll be hosting a special edition of State of Texas where we'll discuss the candidates' answers with a panel of journalists from every corner of the state, along with some former lawmakers. In Austin, Maggie Glenn, back to you.
All right, thank you very much, Maggie.
Coming up, Todd Warren lets you know exactly what to expect tonight as Delta tracks north through Louisiana.
Plus, we head live to where Delta will strike first as Lake Charles braces for yet another massive storm.
Now I can. What? Okay.
An outer band of Hurricane Delta swept through the Baton Rouge area overnight, dumping heavy rain across parts of the capital city. According to the National Weather Service, 6 to 10 inches of rain fell in a short period of time, causing widespread flooding.
A number of rescues were reported as vehicles became stranded in high water.
And now, your weather authority, Todd Warren, certified the most accurate forecast in the Arklatex.
Well, we are probably less than an hour away before the center of Delta makes its way across the coast of Louisiana. Of course, as it moves across the area tonight, might be a good idea to have the Arklatex Weather Authority app downloaded on your device. For Apple or Android devices, it is free, gives you the latest information on Delta as it moves across the state during the night tonight. As far as the rain, it has increased dramatically in terms of intensity across the southern sections of the Arklatex. You can see the bands of heavier rain which just moved through Natchitoches. Also another band which is in the southern sections of Natchitoches Parish. We do have some relatively drier air further to the northwest. It's quite possible northeast Texas, southeast Oklahoma, much of southwest Arkansas could stay totally dry as we watch Delta move into northeast Louisiana. So far in Shreveport, we've only dealt with a little bit of light rain. It's quite possible we could see less than an inch. Show you a breakdown on exactly how much rain has already fallen here across the area, and you can see the radar estimation here across parts of Natchitoches parishes that we've seen in these areas where we do have the yellows already more than 2, closing in on 3 inches of rain falling. You can see it in parts of Sabine Parish. amounts closing in on 2 inches. And this will be the area that we'll be most worried about as far as the potential for some flooding as we go through the nighttime hours tonight. Again, Delta is just about ready to make landfall here within the hour. As I mentioned, right now maximum sustained winds have decreased. Update just provided by the National Hurricane Center showing the storm has maximum sustained winds of 100 miles per hour. Still expected to move across central and northeast Louisiana during the nighttime hours tonight. As we work our way past midnight, we'll see the system very close to Alexandria. Still a tropical storm. It will cross Interstate 20 around sunrise tomorrow, just to the east of Monroe. And of course, the main impacts will be close to this track over the southeastern half of the area. So let's show you Futurecast here, take you through the next 24 hours, and you can see that notice the heavier rains confined to the southern sections of the area. Shreveport, it looks like the heaviest rain very well could stay to our east, and notice not a whole lot of rain across the northwestern sections of the area. By 7 a.m. the heaviest rains more than likely moving well to the north and east of our area. Will likely begin with some clouds. Don't be surprised to see some sunshine over especially the western sections of the area for much of the day tomorrow. As far as rainfall potential, here's the very latest. It does show that we are still looking at the potential of an additional amounts of 2 to 6 inches of rain. You can see these areas of red here over parts of especially Natchitoches Parish. That's where this model indicates. I'm going to click right here and you can see it's indicating 5-6 inches of rain possible in these areas. So this is again the main focus for the flooding here during the night tonight, and that could extend up into parts of Bienville Parish as well, as we do have the flash flood watches which are in effect for basically the eastern and southeastern edge of the Arklatex from Manny up into Claiborne Parish. As far as wind, that also is going to be a concern as we take you through the nighttime hours tonight. Notice that Shreveport, as this moves, probably less than 40 miles per hour as far as the peak gusts. Could be looking at a few peak gusts over the southeastern edge of the area that exceed 50 miles per hour. So far, it hasn't been too bad as far as the peak gusts that we've recorded, as you might expect, with Delta still out to sea right now. But you can see that we have seen some gusts approach 30 miles per hour already this afternoon over the southern sections of the area. And again, the peak as far as the wind and the rain will occur between, say, 8 p.m. this evening to about 3 a.m. tomorrow morning is when the wind conditions will be at their worst. So your forecast looks like this. As we go through the nighttime hours tonight, look for the rain to continue to increase, especially south and east of Shreveport. We will see wind gusts in excess of 50 miles per hour. Definitely a possibility over the southeastern edge of the area. Temperatures fairly steady in the upper 60s. Tomorrow, any rain wraps up early. We'll see some sunshine in the afternoon. It will be warmer as a result with a high right around 81. And then we'll see a taste of summer for Sunday and Monday. Sunshine returns, highs close to 90. Cold front moves through Monday night. That'll cool us back down to normal, and a second area of cooler air could cool us off even more to close next week. That's a look at your forecast. We'll have more news as Delta approaches the coast of Louisiana coming up after this break.
I heard it. Hey, mic check. Testing 1, 2, 3. Lake Charles, Louisiana. Testing, testing. Hey. Awesome. Dan and Jackie, thank you. Battery purposes, yeah. Yeah.
You're watching NBC6 News at 5.
Welcome back. South Louisiana is still recovering from Hurricane Laura, and now they're bracing for another round of severe weather with Hurricane Delta.
NBC6's Blake Brown joins us now live from Lake Charles, sharing the latest. Good evening, Blake.
Good evening to you guys. Yeah, we are here in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and starting to experience those outer rain bands that are getting stronger as each one comes on shore here in the Lake Charles area. You're taking a live look right now, and you can see some of that wind-blown rain out here in the parking lot. We're actually situated in a very sturdy parking garage, so that may be why you don't see me blowing around as much, which is a good thing. But I'm telling you, those winds are strong out there right now. And again, Hurricane Delta expected to make landfall possibly over the next hour or so just to the south of us near Cameron, Louisiana. And possibly we will be in that northwestern portion of the eye wall later on this evening over the next couple of hours or so. So that's something we have to keep an eye on, possibly getting 80, 90 mile per hour wind gust here later on this evening. This is not a good situation, not a good setup. These residents just went through a Category 4 storm, Hurricane Laura, just 6 weeks ago, not even that long ago. So there are still tarps on roofs, which I'm sure are being lifted up right now by these winds. And again, the crazy part of it all, the storm has not even made landfall. So conditions expected to worsen here throughout the evening. We will continue to be here to provide updates throughout the evening as well, and it'll be interesting to see how some of these homes and these structures fare with Hurricane Delta, because again, a lot of damage still out here in the Lake Charles area. It's a very sad situation, a very sad setup, but again, residents here bracing for the impact. I'm Blake Brown, Lake Charles, Louisiana.
Area just can't get a break there. All right, Blake, thank you so very much. Well, after the break, the Speaker of the House is raising some eyebrows with her latest attempt at legislation.
See why Speaker Pelosi says a commission on presidential capacity is necessary and how the White House is firing back.
You're watching NBC6 News at 5.
In your national headlines, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi introduced legislation today to create a commission on presidential capacity under the 25th Amendment.
Now, during a briefing, Pelosi stressed the measure is not intended for President Donald Trump, but rather future presidents. If passed, a commission of former executive officials and top medical experts would be created to help ensure uninterrupted leadership in the Oval Office.
President Trump tweeted on the proposal, claiming Pelosi is looking at the 25th Amendment to replace Joe Biden with Kamala Harris. The White House press secretary also saying it's Pelosi who is unfit for office. Health matters. More research suggests young adults who are hospitalized with COVID-19 can experience severe outcomes. The study looked at more than 3,000 hospitalized COVID-19 patients between the ages of 18 and 34.
It showed that over a fifth required intensive care, 10% were placed on a ventilator, and 3% died. Well over half of these patients were Black or Hispanic. The researchers say many had heart disease risk factors as well, including obesity, diabetes, and high blood pressure.
We'll stay with us. Chief Meteorologist Todd Warren has the final check of your forecast after the break.